My name is Meryle. I'm Director of Stand With Us Canada, and I hope, since I recognize so many in this room, I'm assuming that many of you have heard of Stand With Us. It's a 13-year-old international organization that supports Israel around the world, not only on campuses, but in communities, by educating, because we believe that education is the road to peace. And we all know that there have been so many lies and misrepresentations about Israel that we need to educate about what Israel's true story is. We've been in Canada since we launched here about 2.5 years ago. And I wanted to show you a brief video. I hope that we'll be able to see it, to let you know what some of our accomplishments are internationally. In Canada, during the past year, we've grown to the point where we've been able to hire a Canadian campus coordinator. So we have been educating our Emerson Fellowship people. They are the young student leaders that Zena will tell you about, our campus coordinator, in a few moments, that actually go to campus after they've had intensive training at our headquarters in LA on 2 separate weekends of 4 days each, working in workshops, speaking to world-renowned speakers, hearing programs, so that they can come back to campus and educate their peers. We're also very well known all around the world for social media. Our student leaders use it, our chapters all around the world, including the newest one in China, we've opened in Asia, use social media to try to reach more people, obviously, with Israel's message and to try to counteract some of the lies. Our students are often on hostile campuses, and they arrive there from schools where they've had no experience with either anti-Semitism or the campaign of BDS. I'm sure most of you know what that is, boycott, divestment, sanctions. And as you've heard, we won a vote at McGill this morning, and that was through the work of students who were involved with many, many different Jewish organizations, including Stand With Us, who received strategy advice and support and training from organizations that wanted them to be able to stand up confidently, because we've had the kind of experience with BDS votes that most of them don't have. And I keep saying they should be allowed to go to classes and drink beer. But our Jewish students aren't permitted to do that if they care about Israel and if they want to stand up. They need to have the tools to do that. We provide some educational materials that are actually used on university campuses for college credit. So you can quote from this and get a course credit. We have books. This one's called I Love Israel, The Facts About Israel. This is Pocket Facts. We have another that is 25 questions about Israel. And we also have a small black booklet that is the Hamas Charter, because not many people have read the Hamas Charter. And when students are being faced with Israel Apartheid weeks and condemnation that is racist, because it singles out only one country and one people, they need to have an answer. And those answers are in these educational booklets. So I'd like to try to play the video, but we may have an issue.
No, I think we're okay, but we'll see.
Sound-wise.
Yeah.
Let's try the mic.
Try it.
There's a professor there that calls his students his little jihadists. He's on the terrorist watch list, actually. Here, I'll just read the article. A Kent State University associate professor of history is standing by his call for jihad in a statement that Israel is a regime that is the spiritual heir to Nazism.
And he's teaching kids.
Yeah. They were screaming intifada, intifada, and by the end of it, there were 3 Israeli flags that were just stomped on, covered with mud.
the swastikas that are drawn on our mailbox, or our anti-Semitic president of the student body. There are people running for political office that are delivering letters to students around the university. And some of these people running for office are running on campaigns of "With Jews you lose."
You may know about the wars Israel has faced since its rebirth in 1948, but you may not know about the war that is being fought for Israel by people just like you watching this video. The PR war of the hearts and minds of the world is being fought right here, right now, by Stand With Us. And the most vulnerable in this war are young adults on college campuses who represent the future. For over a decade, Stand With Us has been on the front lines of this new battle and has now become one of the largest and most effective pro-Israel organizations in the world.
We are empowering students to become soldiers in this battle via programs, materials, and conferences. We teach them how to build coalitions on campus, and we bring innovative, proactive programs to their peers. Whether they're facing a divestment initiative or hateful anti-Israel programs on campus.
Ethnic cleansing is how Israel was created.
From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free.
The Stand With Us Emerson Fellowship was created 6 years ago to deal with just those sort of issues. Select students are trained to be pro-Israel advocates and are given tools and resources by Stand With Us to fight for Israel on their campuses. To help them achieve this, Stand With Us created the portable Israel Matters display, providing a wealth of information both about what an amazing country Israel is and providing history and context about the conflict.
When someone brings something like that wall over there, there's got to be a counter display that sheds light on the situation. Because if you don't fight lies, people eventually will learn to accept them as truths.
Not only is Stand With Us educating future leaders here in America, they're also prepping future leaders abroad in places like Australia, France, Canada, the UK, and of course, in Israel itself.
There was no one really practicing Israel advocacy in the way that I believed. We have a public that was being educated about all the negatives about Israel and only about the conflict. And they had no way of learning about what Israel really was. What I wanted to do was show that the campus was turning into a hotbed of hatred, and that students that wanted to just go to school should have the right to do that.
We have the advocacy training Stand With Us Canada undertakes every year to train both our adventure members and our new incoming members in the arts of Israel advocacy on campus. Secondly, we really want to thank Stand With Us Canada for the wonderful Word Swap program they funded this year, which brings a group of Israelis from diverse backgrounds, Israeli Jews, Israeli Muslim Arabs, Israeli Druze Arabs, to Canada to talk about their diverse experiences in Israel, to talk about Israel's multicultural democracy, and to reach out to some groups on campus that aren't so to speak, the traditional market for Israel advocacy. See, our pro-Israel activities on campus would not be what they are today, would not be what they've developed to be today, without the help of Stand With Us Canada, Rob Broston, and Meryle.
They thank us because they have some support and they feel like they can go back to campus and find 3 or 4 more students that will also stand up for Israel, table some of these wonderful materials, and be able to educate all of those people that are somewhere in the middle that really don't know anything about the Middle East at all.
People Connect the last 12 years, Stand With Us has become one of the largest and most effective pro-Israel organizations in the world. In fact, Roz Rothstein, Stand With Us' co-founder and CEO, has been listed in both the Jerusalem Post and the Forward magazine's top 50 most influential Jewish people in the world.
There's no more important organization in the Jewish community today than Stand With Us, because Stand With Us targets college campuses where the real problem exists today.
You've become one of the most effective Israel advocacy organizations. Your innovative educational programs and your successful efforts to fight boycott and divestment initiatives serves as a model for others. You're like a beacon of light in darkness. And in creatively adapting to the online world, you're staying one step ahead of adversaries who are working day and night to delegitimize Israel. So on behalf of all the people of Israel, I want to thank you all at Stand With Us for standing with us, standing by Israel's side. Thank you for defending Israel. Thank you for defending the truth.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. There are a couple of things that I wanted to tell you about that video. You noticed that we are involved in social media programs, and I mentioned that. Last summer during Operation Protective Edge, our Stand With Us website asked for photos that gave passports from all around the world that showed whether you supported Israel. We received 30 million passports. And this was so this is the way we have to get a message across about support for Israel. The Israel Matters display in Toronto, in Canada, we call it the Path to Peace. And we have donors who have now donated a total of 6 of those banner sets, a set of 12 each, and they are tabled on campus as a background, whether they use 2 or 3 or 4 at a time. One of them says innovation, one says environment, and there are facts about Israel that answer the ugly displays on the other side. I'd like you to meet our campus coordinator, Zina Reklimova, who will tell you more about how we educate and train our ambassadors. Before I do that, Zina, please come up. I'd like and Zina will introduce
louder, please.
Oh, sorry. And then Zina will introduce our Emerson Fellow at York University, so you'll get an idea of what's going on there. But I'd like to also say that the other arm of what Stand With Us does is we talk about community advocacy and educating people in the community to be able to speak about what Israel really is. And on April 13th at Beth Shalom, we are going to be doing something called the ABCs of BDS. And it's a 2-hour seminar. We're going to send out information about that early in the week. And if you have any questions for any of us, the email address is info@standwithus.ca. Zina?
Thank you so much, Meryle. Hi, everyone. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. So it's really a pleasure to be here today, and I really want to thank Robert Walker for organizing what I think is such an important and necessary event. As Meryle mentioned, my name is Zina, and I'm the first Canadian campus coordinator for Stand With Us Canada. And ever since I joined this amazing team, I've continued to be impressed with the campus outreach and the programs that this organization offers. So I really want to talk about how important I think campus activism is. Communicating for Israel is one of the most difficult things that Jewish students face, and to do it while we're dealing with a one-sided vicious movement known as the boycott, divestment, and sanction movement makes being a pro-Israel student leader one of the most challenging things our Jewish students face. The objective of the BDS movement is to demonize the Jewish state. It calls for the destruction of Israel. It has hampered efforts towards peace, and it's caused division amongst the students on campus. Instead of promoting coexistence and trying to engage in efforts that build bridges on campus, BDS only seeks to target the Jewish state and to ignore other terrorist groups like Hamas and Hezbollah. And as Meryle mentioned today, at McGill University, our students lined up at 7 a.m. so that they could defeat the BDS motion against the Student Society at McGill University. Often, we see this trend where students arrive on campus and they're stunned by the hatred and the divisive programs, the votes to divestment, the condemnation that student unions use to demonize Israel. My job is to identify student leaders and work with them to accomplish programs on campus that speak to their greater campus community. It's not about combating what the anti-Israel groups are saying. It's about trying to reach out to the 80% of campus students that are just trying to get to school and might be exposed to hateful messages. My role is to help students build bridges with other clubs on campus and to participate in projects that foster dialogue and unity. This past November, Stand With Us held its annual In Focus conference, where we brought together 200 students from across North America for an intensive 4-day training session. This was my first time going to a Stand With Us conference, and one thing that I'll never forget is walking through the conference rooms, walking through the halls. You know, I'm with a bunch of 18 to 20-year-olds, and you know, instead of partying, these students are sitting together and they're exchanging ideas, they're exchanging stories, and I was just so inspired. I was really impressed with how Stand With Us can bring together 200 students that all really love Israel and want to share their passion for it. Their ideas and their hard work have inspired me and so many more students on campus. One thing that we focus on is giving our students the tools and training to effectively communicate for Israel. Stand With Us' speaker programs, our advocacy training, and our education material give students the tools they need to confidently meet challenges of the anti-Israel misinformation and campaigns on their campuses. As a Jewish student and pro-Israel community, we are often bombarded with negative images and negative information and questions about Israel that are completely out of context. Student leaders come to campus and feel as if they're backed into a corner and they are unable to effectively respond to some of these claims. What we do in our leadership and training is walk students through a strategy whereby they're able to answer these questions, reframe these questions so that they're speaking on their terms, and they're leaving individuals with positive messages that speak about the real Israel, the one that's striving for progress and coexistence. So all of us here, you know, as a Jewish community, we all feel really strongly united when Israel's under attack. You know, we shed tears together when our soldiers are kidnapped, and we are collectively angered when the media is portraying a double standard. But this doesn't end for our students. When media outrage has subsided, students have to go back to campus. They still have to continue to face hostility, and they still have to go back to their academic institutions and challenge claims. And they need to ensure that misinformation doesn't spread to individuals that might not have such a formed opinion. It's really important to give our students their voices back, and it's important that they feel empowered and supported. They're the ones who are fighting in the front lines, and they're the ones that have to continue to endure this hostility and anti-Semitism. The Stand With Us Emerson Fellowship brings training and support, but it also encourages our students to educate their peers and to find other students, both Jews and non-Jews, who want to stand up for the democratic and Canadian values that we all hold dear. Very recently, I had the pleasure of working with a group of Christian and Jewish students at Trent University. These students mobilized with very few Jewish students on campus because they wanted to make a difference, and they wanted to fight against bigotry and racism, and they were not only able to bring about the first ever defeat against BDS, and now today our second defeat, they were also able to rescind a BDS motion that was brought forth 2 years ago. And I think this was really powerful because this shows us that the battle isn't lost, and that so long as we provide support for our students, so long as we show them that they're not alone and that we're here to help them, we can help them build bridges and provide an environment on campus that is free of bigotry and hate. And I have the pleasure here to introduce one of our Emerson Fellows from York University. I went to York, so it's really an honor to have him continuing the amazing tradition of being a pro-Israel leader on campus. So, Willem.
Hi, I'm Willem Hart. I'm a VP Education of Hasbara York, a pro-Israel club at York, and I'm also Stand With Us Emerson Fellow with Stand With Us Canada. And Zena was actually the president of my group, and I was just starting out last year, and it's just great to work together over the years. So as I said, I'm a Stand With Us Emerson Fellow. I have the privilege of working for such a great organization like Stand With Us, with great people like Zena and Meryle and others in the community that support us. And what I really like about the Stand With Us Emerson Fellowship is that I got to go on a trip to Los Angeles. for a weekend, for a little bit longer than a weekend in August, and got to go to Oxnard. And it's called the Emerson Fellowship because two donors, Stephen and Rita Emerson, graciously donated to have this program and to give us the skills and facilitate the training that students at York, in Toronto, in Canada, and in everywhere we have a Stand With Us that they so desperately need. When I was at the first conference, I was absolutely blown away at what I learned. There was so much that, just 1 year of being at York didn't teach me. There are hard skills that unless you have an organization with its own research department like Stand With Us that are developing tactics and developing materials, you're never going to learn them because it's just, you can't be at the grassroots level for too long and still accomplish what you want to do. So what I learned was Stand With Us, everything under the sun related to the conflict. Every session we had, there was a corresponding expert that's employed by Stand With Us. So history through maps, social media, regular media, how to write articles in the paper, submit them to your school paper, try to create a positive buzz for Israel in that medium. There's an expert on how to fight BDS who just focuses on the correct talking points to use at a BDS hearing or when you're conducting a referendum or however manner that the anti-Israel crowd tries to bring it to the fore. There's also an expert on how to run for student government and how to lobby members of student government and how to correctly and professionally explain what you want to do and how the BDS movement and Israeli Apartheid Week and all these awful, disgusting things, how they are damaging to the school atmosphere and how to correctly give you the information and how to convey it. So with experts from all disciplines like media and communication studies and political science and history are there to help you. And when I go onto campus to advocate, I never feel alone. And York can be very isolating, but when you're with Stand With Us or you're with a club and you have that help with you, you never feel alone. I'm always with the sort of guardian angels, I like to think about it. So when I can always text Zena, I can always text Meryle, I can always text all the people in LA, and that's really great. The one thing I like the best about it is that I know all my fellows after two conferences, one in August in Oxnard and one in November in Los Angeles. I have a network of people from all over the continent, of people that I can exchange ideas with and that I can talk to and bounce ideas off of, and even if it's not a matter of ideas, it's just about getting that support that you need because it's not always available immediately. But because I have so many friends from different faiths and from different, from universities with different atmospheres, it's so the word is empowering to have an organization like Stand With Us and to have that infrastructure to correctly tell you how to, first of all, create a positive working campus club. I know Jewish people are typically divided and it's, sometimes it can be difficult, but how to create that foundation, work within your group, and then how to work outside the group and start making real change on campus. So this year I've done about 10 or so campaigns or events with Stand With Us. It's very great to rely on the advice, on the, on the campus coordinator, on the financial help, because dealing with a student union that is very stingy about where they disperse their money, if it's a pro-Israel cause, our anti-Israel group, Students Against Israeli Apartheid, you saw them in the video, they are so well financed by the student union from outside sources, and to be able to know that no matter what, there's a place I can go and there's people I can talk to, it's so empowering, and I'm really grateful to Stand With Us for the opportunity. I really appreciate everyone being here. I'm really appreciative to the organizers. Just a survey tells me that not all of you go to university anymore. But that's really where, and I appreciate the fact that everyone's taking the time out to get that information, to learn these skills and listen to what all of the wonderful speakers have to say. But this is really a battle, more so a war on campus that the students have to face. As Jews, we have a very large degree of institutional completeness, but sociologically, but there are no Jewish universities in Toronto. You have to go to York or U of T or Ryerson or go to Western, more likely, and you need to be in that area where there's no safe zone, where it's not safe space, as the student union likes to cram down your throat. You have to be there, and students up until very recently have not been prepped, have not been adequately equipped with the correct arsenal to fight this. And finally, I feel like we have the tools and we have the expertise and the institution behind you to help you. What goes on in universities, the video didn't cover it. It's absolutely appalling. My fellow at U of T gets told that Israel should go back to the ovens. That not my fellow, but a colleague at Ryerson is spat on. That at university, in the student center, hangs a mural of a Palestinian teen, with his hands behind his back, carrying a boulder, about to throw at an Israeli, and around the perimeter it says justice and peace in all different languages. It's absolutely vile. It's absolutely unrelenting, and there's no other word to describe it than racism. Boycott, divestment, sanction came and went without any consultation with the Jewish groups, without any consultation with the Israeli groups, and it hit us like a ton of bricks. We were not invited to any meetings. It's all backdoors. It's a student union. There's absolutely no oversight. The only people, you can have all the institutions behind you with all this money being donated to the university, but unless you have students in there, because we're the only ones that can make change. We're the only ones that have access to that infrastructure, that undemocratic infrastructure of a student union to go and make change and advocate and show Israel for what it is and show BDS for what it is. And I'm so grateful for Stand With Us for helping me.
Spend their time at university supporting Israel. Stand With Us is only Stand With Us because we have these dedicated, smart student leaders. So if you'd like more information, if you have questions now, we're getting the hook, but yes.
I have a question. I wonder what sort of support you're getting from university presidents, especially at York University.
Well, the students can certainly speak to that. They are not getting the support they'd like in every case. They're being charged security fees for bringing in pro-Israel
The Jew tax,
speakers.
we call it.
And it's rather like the Jew tax we say we all pay. We all pay for security at high holidays and anytime we want to go to Shul. Yes, Ina.
Well, just to respond to that, I actually went up to President Shukri when I was a student and told him I was really targeted and bothered by the BDS motion that was going on. And he said, well, why don't I help you deal with what's going on? And sat me down and explained how, he can't silence anything because of freedom of speech. So
it's with the mural too. It's
right.
Hurt speech, not hate speech.
Hurt
if he was
speech,
throwing the
hate
rock,
speech.
then they could do something.
Sorry, your question.
Okay, so I'm actually a York staff member, and I don't know if this is an untapped resource, and I don't actually know how many Jewish York staff members there are, but I don't know if it isn't an untapped resource that I'm not being forced to work in a hostile environment. And when that mural came out, when I first saw that mural, I sat at my desk, I had to close my door, I sat at my desk and cried for an hour.
Oh my gosh.
Because I felt so betrayed by my employer. And I don't know how to gather that as a whole other reason. It's a hostile environment for students, it's a hostile environment for employees as well.
And as Ina was just saying, it all comes under the banner of freedom of speech. And in fact, as Jews, we're all very protective of our freedom of speech. That isn't something any of us want to lose. But this is hate speech, and we do have hate speech laws.
So isn't there a human rights violation going on?
Well,
yes,
the mural is in the student center, which is not owned. That's not your work environment. That's owned by the student union. It's autonomous, local 6-8 or something, and the university absolutely refuses to do anything at all about it.
Yes.
Is there any way you could have a lawyer work with you on this?
Phyllis.
What is the source of funding for
Well, that's the next. That's the important consideration. The source of funding for the student union is OPIRG, that you're familiar with as a faculty member, CUPE, major unions. None of us are about to go up against the unions. What we are doing is supporting our students so that they can be in an environment that makes more sense, obviously. And we hope that we can get through, as Ina said, to some of those 80% of people with something like the real story. Yes.
I also have one suggestion.
Sure.
For a campaign that's driving me crazy that nobody has ever said, that the next time that BDS raises its ugly head, I would really like to see Stand With Us or some Jewish group publicly challenge every BDS supporter to publicly self-identify that they don't like where York gets its money from, and because they think it's dirty money, they should be returning their scholarship conversions.
That's right.
They should be putting their money where their mouth is, and nobody's asking to do that. And I know we're not supposed to talk about their hypocrisy, but to me that's...
But it is hypocritical, and there is...
If they don't like the money, let's give it back.
But
You're making a good point.
The thing is that BDS at York, Ryerson, and U of T have already been passed. BDS is now in its second stage at York, where they don't have to have rallies, they don't have to, have campaigns. They control the school newspaper, the school government, the gay club, the women club, the trans club, the black club, the Kurdish club, every...
Why?
What?
But they're all students.
They have numbers.
And that the numbers, Jews are never going to win the numbers, but...
And we also have to be really clear, as we speak about all of this, that those BDS motions have made absolutely no difference to policies of the administrations. You know, as a faculty member, the tie-ins and the cooperative things that are going on between Israel and Canadian universities are growing all the time, and they're very, very encouraging. This is a matter of what's happening to our future, because the perception is that something awful is happening in Israel. Yes?
My name is Leah Halberg, and I'm a first-year student at York University. So my question is, now where do I start? I'm here, and I wanna be a part of this. Not just hold no class. I wanna do something. What do I do?
You start with Stand With Us.
Okay, I'm in.
You talk to Zena, you get my card, you get some of the materials before you leave, and that goes for all of you. And as Willem pointed out, you're not students, but you have family members, all of you, children, grandchildren, nieces, nephews. Ask them to reach out to Stand With Us, to reach out to Zena and Willem, and info@standwithus.ca is our email address. We will find a way to connect you. Yes?
I'd just like to say to this gentleman who made a comment about numbers, and I agree with you, but we can't give up because they are always going to outnumber us. It is our voices and how loud and the kind of impression that we will make on them, and it is only using the material that we're learning today that will win, because it's logic and fact and law
and truth
that is going to win.
And the difference is, because we can't rely on just our own community and we are a minority, you heard from Zena about what happened at Trent. We won that debate because there were very few Jewish students, but they aligned themselves with Christian students and Greek students and Japanese students, and made whatever partnerships they could, and that's one of the things that Stand With Us teaches them to do. Yes?
My son is a graduate from York University. He graduated in 2006.
Yep.
And he belonged to Hillel. They did not have the support that you now have.
Things have changed.
And because he felt so abandoned, he made Aliyah, left Canada.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Mazel tov is right.
But he felt abandoned by the country.
Of course.
So I'm really glad to see this.
Well,
Surfing the idea.
And that's pretty wonderful. And you should also know that we're now beginning a high school program. Because we know that the kind of recruitment for BDS starts much earlier. We have 2 high school interns in Vancouver. We are bringing them across the country, and we will soon have high school programs all across the country. Yes? I think I have to make this...
I have a quick question.
Sorry, I think I have to make it the last one.